On Saturday, Nebraska and Wisconsin meet in Madison in the Huskers' first game as a member of the Big Ten Conference. To break down the game, here's Husker Extras Stephen M. Sipple and Brian Christopherson, and Madison's Tom Oates and Tom Mulhern.
Nebraska will be led by dual-threat quarterback Taylor Martinez and Wisconsin by dual-threat quarterback Russell Wilson. How do you see the quarterback matchup playing out?
Well, it's definitely the year of the dual-threat quarterback in the Big Ten, and these two guys are both examples of that. The difference is, I think, Taylor Martinez is a runner first and a passer second, and Russell Wilson's definitely a passer first and a runner second. And because of that, I give Wilson a little bit of an edge. He's a dangerous threat on the ground, but they don't look to feature that in Wisconsin's offense right now. And, he's really, for a dual threat guy, he's really a poised, polished, efficient quarterback in the pocket. And I just don't think Martinez is at that level yet, so I give Wilson a big edge in that regard.
Yeah, the big question I think in this game is going to be how these quarterbacks value the football. And we've seen early on with Taylor Martinez, he's an explosive player. He can hit the home run, but sometimes he's a little loose with the football. So he's going to have to take care of the ball in this game for Nebraska to have a chance. And obviously the same goes for Russell Wilson. He's a more experienced quarterback, but this will be the toughest defense he's faced in Nebraska. So I think a big part of this game is going to be how those guys handle the football, how they're smart, who is the smartest with the football in this game.
Nebraska's defense has been one of the best in the nation the last 2 years. Wisconsin's defense appears to be just as strong. Which one of those defenses will have the upper hand on October 1st?
Well, it's hard to say right now. I mean, I don't know a lot about Wisconsin's defense. The thing I would watch closely in this matchup is we all know now Wisconsin can run the football. Wisconsin, that's what they do. They're a balanced attack, but they have those two very fast running backs in Monty Ball and James White, and then a big offensive line. In Nebraska, you go back to last year, they were 63rd nationally in rushing defense. Nebraska was a strong defense, but they were a little vulnerable against the run. If you watch the Holiday Bowl, they're very vulnerable against the run. If you watch the Fresno State game this season, Fresno State, ran right at Nebraska, racked up 190 yards with a line that had 4 new starters and was without its starting center. So, I would think Wisconsin would be on pretty even terms with Nebraska defensively.
I think they're two interesting defenses. I think Nebraska is a defense with stars. They have 3 or 4 potential All-Americans on defense, whereas Wisconsin at this point has shown itself to have a very solid all-around defense without many home run hitters. In the past couple of years, Wisconsin's had playmakers on defense, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can make a big play or 2 or 3 against Nebraska, because that could turn the game. And that's Wisconsin's MO in recent years. So far this season, it hasn't really surfaced.
Nebraska hasn't been to Wisconsin since the 70s, I guess, which I don't even remember. What are the Huskers and Husker fans in for under the lights at Camp Randall?
Well, Wisconsin's had a lot of success the last 2 decades, and with that, some people think that these crowds have not been as enthusiastic as they used to be, and the students are known for showing up late, and the crowds probably aren't as frenzied as they were back in the day. But they do show up and turn it on for the big games, especially night games, and all you have to do to see that is to go back to Ohio State, the last 2 night games when they were in Camp Randall Stadium. At its best, Camp Randall's as good as the best Big Ten environments in Penn State and Ohio State, and I'm sure it'll be at its best when Nebraska comes for a night game. So if you're a college football fan and you've never been in Madison for a football game, you really need to be there for take part of the jump around tradition at the end of the 3rd quarter. Preferably not in the upper deck, since the entire stadium shakes, but that's experience that every college football fan should go through.
Well, actually, Nebraska fans should probably consider getting here a little early and taking part in the fine tailgating tradition as well. And Wisconsin fans are generally quote unquote up for the game for a night game, and it's a wild atmosphere in there. The Badgers somehow, for some reason, seem to thrive at night. They've won 26 of their last 29 games at night. They're 8 of their last 10 at Camp Randall. Some of them, as Tom mentioned, against very good opponents. So, I was there at the last time Nebraska came to Wisconsin. I was in school, and it was 1974. It was a major upset by the Badgers, and it was wild that day. But it will be multiplied many times over. That's how wild it will be for this game.
Well, I'm going in very wide-eyed. I mean, I'd never been to Camp Randall on a game day. I've seen it, on a non-game day, covering a volleyball match up there a few years ago. I guess I just go in wide-eyed, and I know this, that Wisconsin is a program with a lot of momentum. And my guess is, the crowd feels that momentum, and Nebraska will feel every bit of that momentum at certain points of that game. And it'll be I imagine it'll be a very difficult environment for Nebraska.
This has been a special presentation of the Wisconsin State Journal and the Lincoln Journal-Star. Come back to madison.com for updates and complete coverage of the Wisconsin-Nebraska game.